We can see then that the access control list using the IP address is okay, but it doesn't really include all of the security that we could easily implement. So we're now going to start looking at TSIG keys, or transactional signature keys. With these, we can then authenticate the server, and we can also sign the messages, the answers being sent back, so that the client can verify the integrity. And this just uses quite simple public key, private key mechanisms that we're probably quite used to, even with simple things when we go through to web servers with HTTPS. The first thing that we should do is install an entropy service on Ubuntu, our master server. We're going to be generating keys, and to help create that random data, the entropy that we need, we're going to install the havget service. And that's going to be quite simply the apt-get install -y havget. We can then go ahead and generate our key pair, and this should happen relatively quickly. If it's taking a long time, then maybe you're not generating the entropy and you don't have the havget service. So we're going to create the key in our working directory, so we're going to move into the etc bind directory, and we're going to run the command dnssec -keygen. The -a is saying the algorithm that we're going to use. -b is the recommended bit size of 128 bits. -n then is really specifying the type of key, and here we're creating a host key. We can create host keys or zone keys. This is for a host. The name of the key should indicate then the conversation between the master and slave, and example.com. So that becomes the key name. We then need to create a configuration file. We could put this straight in our named.conf or one of our option files, but we want to make sure that this is only readable by our bind user. So we're creating in the bind directory a transfer.conf file, and we're going to read in the contents from the command line. So we're referencing our key, and don't forget the dot at the end of the example.com domain. We're setting the algorithm that's being used, and the secret, we'll see how we get this, but this comes from the public key. We then close off the key option, and then we just mark the end for cat, so it knows that we've reached the end of the file. This will create the transfer conf with the given contents from key through to the closing brace bracket and semicolon. We need to reference this configuration file, so we're going to use an include line within the named.conf. Remember, pretty much all of the named.conf does on an Ubuntu system is include other configuration files, and here we're then just appending to the file. We can alter the access control list, and the access control list is now going to read, instead of the IP address, we reference the key. And again, don't forget the dot at the end of the key name. Now, of course, we've still got to set up the slave server so that the slave server has access to the public key. But for the moment, let's just go through and configure the TSIG key on the master Ubuntu server.